Okay, my friends, I just want to make one thing clear before I get started, because I am going to be going through all the ancient texts, and it's not going to be what you read in the Bible specifically, but a lot of it is. I go through everything. So before I even start, I just want to tell you, my conclusion at the end of this is the only one that I see that has any credibility to make claims was Jesus Christ, and I am going to go with Jesus Christ. You do anything you want, but when you hear what I'm going to be talking about, you may think that I am not a believer in Jesus Christ, and that is way far from the truth. I believe Jesus was sent here to warn us about these things that I am about to show you, and to go to the light, find the light, become the light. And I'm going to go through, and it's going to get pretty deep. And I go through all the different, not all of them, but most of the different philosophers that wrote based on the ancient Greek and Egyptian and all that stuff, because they were closest to the source. But even them, how much did they know? How could anybody put their mind around everything came from nothing and just all of a sudden here and life started and all that? You know, they had the wherewithal to understand it. You have to be a deep thinker to be able to even start to think about this stuff, because of the insanity of it, literally. For what I have been taught, and I get this all day long. I'm getting a whole ton of people that are fighting back now, which is good. I'm glad to see that. When this guy's crazy, what, this guy for real? Oh, that guy's a nutcase. He shouldn't be allowed to talk about that. Well, they did stop me, and I'm still pretty well shut up. But sooner or later, it's going to be heard. But my feeling is, I don't want you to get the feeling that I'm against Christ, not understanding where who his father was or anything. I really don't have all of those answers. I'm looking for them. I have some. I think I have some answers that other people don't have, because they haven't been exposed to the mud fossils and the enormity of the life that was here, and giants in the earth in those days, and then after that more giants when the angels went into the daughters of men. So they were obviously male, and there is apparently no female angels. And then there's a statement in the Gnostic text about making Mary into a male. It's over the top. Don't take offense at me, please. I'm just putting the stuff out front. I cannot give you an opinion. I have my own opinion. Now it's up to you. Okay, my friends, this is kind of an unusual video today. I'm going back thinking about how everything started in the beginning. All right. Now, I've looked at a lot of different texts, and they have a similarity of the beginning of everything. And what is it? Listen to what it says here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. All right. So God created those. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. All right, so we're talking about the earth, and we're talking about waters, and we're talking about the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. All right, so it wasn't God himself. It was his Spirit was hovering over the waters of the earth. Now, let's look at Apollodorus, because there's something very similar to that in Apollodorus. All right, everybody basically has some idea about the Bible. I can't think of anybody that would be just totally not understanding anything about the Bible at all. But very few people have a deep understanding of it, and I'm one of them. I don't have a deep understanding of the Bible at all. I haven't read it in its entirety. I've seen little bits and pieces that, you call it cherry picking, whatever you want to call it. I look and I see what makes sense, and then I sort of investigate that. And right now, I am investigating about what happened in the beginning. Now, Apollodorus, the reason I'm saying this is because everybody, like I say, is familiar with the Bible to some degree, but not Apollodorus. Very, very few, hardly anybody's ever even heard of Apollodorus, and I consider this a fairly credible source because of the things that I have found in it. Everything I can't account for, no. And it's the most insane stuff you've ever heard. However, Typhon and Zeus and some other things I have found are absolutely undeniable. It cannot be denied. So I have to take this with some degree of credibility. Now, some people say, oh, you can't read that, you can't read that. Well, maybe you can't, I can. Apollodorus, and they call it a pseudo-Apollodorus. They always want to make it sound like it's not real. And it's Greek, and it's a compendium of myth sourced from old Greek epic and plays of tragedies. So in other words, you're going back to the plays and their stories and so forth. The work was traditionally ascribed to Apollodorus of Alexandria, a Greek scholar who flourished in the 2nd century BC. And then we dismiss that, and they come up with all kinds of stories. Who cares what they have to say? I go for the details. What did he say? What did Apollodorus say? Library, Book 1, Chapter 1. The sky was the first who ruled over the whole world. Don't forget what we just read. Don't forget what we just read. Having wedded the earth. Now it gets crazy. He begat first the 100-handed. They were named. Unsurpassed in size and might, each having 100 hands and 50 heads. Now don't forget, the sky ruled over the whole world, having wedded the earth. They had sex, and that's what they came up with, these monsters. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. So now the earth is here. Now the earth was formless and empty. There was nothing on it. There was no animals, no nothing, and there was no, I guess there was no land or anything. I don't know. But it says darkness was over the surface of the deep, which is the ocean. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Now he says God said, let there be light. Well, let there be light. Does that mean let there be life? Maybe that's what they maybe misspelled it. I'm just telling you, it rings of the same thing. Sky ruled over the whole world. Having wedded the earth, he begot the 100-handers. This is quite insane. But once we get down to here, the war of the giants and Typhon, here's what happened. I'm going to try to explain it to you as simple as I can make. Earth had all these monsters. And boy, I'm going to tell you, I've been going through all these ancient texts, and they are, the Bible, obviously, the Quran, Ovid, Apollodorus, Hesiod. All these people wrote, and these are things that have come down through history, and of course the Gnostic texts now that they just discovered in 1945 had been buried for a couple thousand years. So those were not deeply altered, and there's a statement in there that freaked me out. And I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute, but this also freaks me out, is just for the first words in the Bible. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and void, and empty and void. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. So darkness was over the surface of the deep. Darkness. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So God was hovering over the waters, and the darkness was over the surface of the deep. Is that some deep meaning there? Darkness. So it was empty, formless, and void. There was nothing here, basically. And darkness. Now, darkness has that ring to it of not a good thing. Was over the surface of the deep. Was over the surface of the deep. What about the surface of the surface? Is that two different places? Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, which I would say was above. Just think about it. Give us time to think about it. I got to give myself a little time, because I unveil things to myself as I see them, and I work deeper and deeper into them. And that's what you have to do. If you want to understand it, you can't just swip over and say, oh, now I know everything about it. No. There's so much nuance in this stuff specifically. It's just staggering when you start to, just this words right here. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, I would say, which was above. All right, let's just take it from here. God said, let there be light. There was light, and light constructs everything. Now, then God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. To separate water from water. What does that mean? So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. Evening and morning. And he called it sky. And he put a vault. He made a firmament. He made a firmament around it. That's why you hear, oh, the firmament. Well, guess what the firmament is? It's the ionosphere. He separated the waters above from the waters below. Let's think about that. Okay, I want to address the firmament right here. This is the firmament. I agree, there is one there. There's no question about that. And it separates the waters below from the waters above. And you say, well, what waters are those? Sunlight is water. We are made literally of sunlight. We are literally made of water. But you can combine those little pieces of dipole electrons in certain ways that they make matter. And you end up with rocks and things that were petrified muscle and all of that kind of stuff. But it starts out as water. We are made of sunlight. And Jesus said that. He said, if they ask you where you came from, tell them you came from the light. You came from the place where the light came of its own accord. The only place that I know of is the sun. Okay, this is very simple. Please don't shut your mind off. Everything there is made of this black particle, and this white particle and this black particle. And here's what they are right here. The black goes to the center, and the white goes around the outside, and that's what protons are. If you don't have any background in physics or chemistry or any of that stuff, don't worry about it. It means nothing. All it means is there's black and white. And we want to ascend to be only the white. This is the matter. Black is matter. White is I think it must be the spirit. Now, just so you understand, these are what make up molecules. They start at light, but then they get bigger and they become heat. Well, they're heat, and then they become light, and then they become matter, and then they become bigger and bigger and bigger bits of matter, and then matter hooks into other matter, and they glob together to make plastics and metals and all that stuff. So that's the basic chemistry we have here. What does that have to do with separating the water from the water? Well, here's what it has to do with it. All right, don't forget, we got the Earth. We got California over here. We got the layer of the atmosphere, and this is moisture under here. It rains all the time. There's water under here. And you say, is there water out here? I say, yes, there is. And can I prove that? Yes, I can. Because everything that comes down here is the same thing that comes from here, it ends up getting here. It's light. Light makes everything there is. There is nothing but light. And Jesus said, we, human beings, are made of light. All right, again, you don't need any background in physics for this at all. This is what we did, is shine a red laser. Let me get a different shot of this. Here it is right here. A red laser shooting this way. And a Venturi here, which is just a very narrow pinch point. And only the tiniest particles can squeeze through here. And the black is too big. It cannot get through. So it's boom, 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 boom. And here, the white separates from the black. That's why it's so brilliantly white. That is pure white energy. No matter is here. If you weighed that, there would be no weight to it whatsoever. Electricity has no weight. Lightning has no weight. Static has no weight. The one side of the Dirac neutrino. These are neutrinos. These are the smallest things that exist. And the Dirac has the black and the white. Yes, they have it backwards. This is actually the matter, and that's the light, which is energy. There's no matter involved in it. It's only energy. This is matter. We want to go this way. We want to go to the light, and leave the matter behind, because we're living on top of this. You're built out of antimatter or out of dark matter. That's why we have a physical substance. If you were energy, there's nothing there. It's just energy. But when those fields bang into each other, they create huge amounts of energy. We want to get away from that. If the Bible's right, we want to separate from that and become pure light. It says it hundreds of times. Go to the pure light. What are we made of? Light. And Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light. Now remember this carefully, from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself and established itself and appeared in their image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We're the children of the light. We are the chosen particles of the living Father. If they ask you, where is the evidence of your Father in you? Say to them, it is motion and rest. We can rest as matter and energy at the same time. And it can be very motion and rest. It does both of those things. It's energy. It's like what they would call kinetic energy and potential energy, basically. That's what he's talking about right there. Now, these are the Gnostics, and here it is, 56. Jesus said, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass, and whoever has discovered a carcass, of that person the world is not worthy. Well, I think he means that when you become understanding that the population of the world is the carcass, basically. The earth is a carcass of something too. I agree with that, but I think he's referring to the world in general, who has known the world. When they talked about the world before, they were talking about basically the dynamics of thought and interactions of people. The world. If you were a worldly person, you were understanding of all these things. That's the world that I think this refers to. Now, and also he says, search and keep searching until you find. And when you find, you'll be upset. Jesus said, seek and don't stop seeking until you find. When you find, you'll be disturbed. When you're disturbed, you'll marvel, and then you'll reign over all. And right here, know what's in front of your face. What's hidden from you will be disclosed to you. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing buried that will not be raised. Those are two separate things. Nothing hidden, nothing that happened is hidden. Buried and raised is something else. Rocks coming out of the ground, they were really bones. So these are, and Jesus said, if you tell my disciples to be quiet, the very stones will cry out. I'm telling you, the things I've read that people have sent me about these discoveries, everything locks it up for me. And a typhon and a fish, which was Aries, all of that stuff was written about. And that was in Apollodorus, which is back here. And this is where they had the battles between Hercules and they attacked this Porphyrion, attacked Hercules and Hera, and nevertheless Zeus inspired him with lust for Hera. I mean, it goes on and on. He tore her robes. He was trying to force her to have sex. He called for help. Zeus smote him with a thunderbolt. Hercules shot him dead with an arrow. Hercules had to kill the gods to help Zeus, because Hercules was part god and part human. And he had to have the help of a human to kill a god. Apparently there was some law about that. and he kept shooting everybody with arrows. And they destroyed all of them, and Hercules shot all of them with arrows as they were dying. Now, the earth was really upset because those were her children. The gods came down and killed all her children. It was a war. They killed all her children. So she had Typhon. She had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, who was the gigantic dragon. All right, in size and strength surpassed all the offspring of earth. His thighs were of human shape, and is so prodigious his bulk, he outtopped all the mountains, and his head often brushed the stars. Yikes. And we've seen him 100 times, 1,000 times I've shown him. All right, so now I come back to the Gnostic, because was just discovered in 1945, and this Dead Sea Scrolls as well, which also had things nobody understood, and they still don't understand it because it's so deep, and they can't get to the point of realizing these monsters were just, like Typhon covers all of North Africa. So it's beyond the average person's ability to even conceive of that. So to study this is going to be a very long study, and I've been trying to get a little bits here and there. Anyway, it was discovered in Upper Egypt, 1945. It's got the Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Philip, Gospel of Truth. Got all kinds of deep, deep, deep stuff. There was like 50 different texts, something like that. I mean, they were in books, regular books, and they're in very good shape. And there was more than one copy of many of them, or some of them at least. Immensely important discovery, large number of primary Gnostic Gospels. Texts once thought to have been entirely destroyed during the Christian surge to defy orthodoxy. They wanted to wipe it out, get it off. Well, they said in the end days, everything would be found. Here's the Gospel of Truth, the Gospel of Philip. Some of this stuff is just so amazing. But the things that I've seen and I've shown you, nobody can deny those. They're amazing. Writings created, including Gnostic alternatives, Apocryphon of John, the Archons, the origin of the world, the Apocalypse of Adam, on and on and on. There's so much to start to understand here that it's not going to be easy. But the main ones I liked was the Gospel of Thomas, because those are Jesus' words while he was alive, standing here on planet Earth. That's what it says. The Gospel of Thomas, Gnostic text. These are the secret sayings that living Jesus spoke and Didymus Judas Thomas recorded. That was described. And these are all the things when whoever discovers interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Now, you're never going to understand them all. That's just impossible. So I'm hoping that just your interpretation of it is going to be accepted by Jesus as your attempt to understand. Because an interpretation is how you see something. Now, Jesus said, seek, don't stop seeking. And you're going to be disturbed, and then you're going to marvel. And it goes on and on and on. And at the very end, the one that really struck me as crazy was the one about Mary, 1:14. Simon Peter said to them, make Mary leave us, for females don't deserve life. Yikes. Jesus said, look, I will guide her to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every female who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. That is, that's hard to get your hands around. But I did start to look back, and it appears there are no males. I mean, no females of angels. They say there was no gender assigned to them. Well, obviously it was a gender. They came down to have sex with the women So obviously the angels were male, but there is no reference that I can find to female angels. Maybe somebody has more depth to it than me, but that's a real stunner, that one right there. All right, here's the interpretation about female angels. It says, no, the Bible does not mention any female angels. The Bible consistently refers to angels in the masculine form, and they are always depicted as men when they appear to people. Now they come down to this, which doesn't make any sense at all. It says angels are spirit beings. I agree with that. They're not human beings. I'll go along with that. So they don't have gender in the way that humans do. Well, obviously, they could feel feelings and turn themselves into a masculine guy to come down and have sex with the women, because that's what they did. Now, the Greek word for angel is masculine. Michael, Gabriel, and all those are masculine. Angels may appear to have gender in visions or artwork, but that is symbolism that makes it easier for us to think about them. I don't think so. Although I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to put my thoughts into this. So anything I can think of that cross matches between all these different texts. Now, Ovid said that they could become anything they wanted. All right, let me just go to Ovid. See, you got to dig through this stuff, or you're just never going to get anywhere. And digging through takes time. Okay, this was an epic work by Ovid. And he wrote during the time of Julius Caesar, right around Jesus' time. And he wrote a ton. These are his books. And he's got 15 books. All right, now, here is the first 2 lines of Book 1. Book 1, lines 1 and 2. Metamorphoses, which means transformation, is transformation is like a butterfly coming out of a caterpillar. All right, one thing transfers into something else. We never thought this would happen, and all of a sudden you got a butterfly. Well, same thing with transformation, metamorphosis. So it's an underlying theme. The first 2 lines, the episodes of all the metamorphoses, Ovid raises its significance explicitly in the opening lines of the poem. And this is Greek, and nova fert animos mutatus decere formos corpora, which means I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. Accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation becomes part of the natural landscape. All right? That victim becomes part of the landscape. This goes way back. These theme amalgamates the well, that's just nonsense. Because then they throw this in, well, it's just the tension between art and nature. No, this actually happened. And it says there's a great variety among the types of transformations that take place. From humans, they turn into inanimate objects, turn into the Nile River, constellations, animals, plants, from animals into ants, into funguses, into mushrooms, into humans, from one sex to another. This is hard to put all in one big piece. From one color to another, they turn into different pebbles. Now here they go, oh, it's metatextual, and they did it just to grammatically narrating transformations. No, that's what happened. And a lot of the things on planet Earth were alive creatures. And they were transformed. There's a lot of sculptures and everything they transformed. The blood is running out of them. This is not a joke. This was real. And it all involves everybody. All the religions are involved in this and entangled in this. And there's got to be some good stuff going on and some bad stuff going on. Or it's just when people get free will, they take advantage of it, and they never realize. And what you don't know, you don't know. So you can't be held accountable, I don't think, for something you don't know. But once you do know, then it's over. You can't turn around. If you turn around then, it's all over for you. That's the way I'm seeing this right now. And that's the way Jesus comes. He said, you're a sinner, admit your sin, turn towards me, and I'll take you out of this. Otherwise, you're in trouble. And if you just like that and that's your lifestyle, well, good for you. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this. There's so much, it's so deep. And the Earth is being showered by literal water from the sun. This is a solar eclipse. All of that is particles. All of that is particles of light, which are these two, the black and white particles. That's this right here. That's what's coming out of the sun, all by itself, of its own accord, just exactly like Jesus said. And here it is, and this is the white part we want to be. You don't want to be the black part. Well, you are now. I guess maybe that's, you're born with original sin. The dark part is bad, I guess. That's what it claims. Now, this is from our light experiments. They found this stuff at Fermilab. This is Fermilab's pictures. The black and the glowing. We found them in light, which is much smaller than the particles they were working with. They were working with enormous clusters of particles and getting huge masses of debris. We started with these. We started where they wanted to be, right here. So we were able to separate even the black from the white here, which, you know, in any physics manual says that's fission and that's fusion. It broke apart and came back together. And this is what a muon neutrino is, and an electron neutrino. Electron neutrino is the white one, which is showers of electricity. And when you can do that, you can make free electricity. It increases the electricity, the energy, right up through the roof. And we were able to do this very simply at the Venturi right here. And that is light. That's what we're made of. All right, here it comes down, accelerated. That's not supposed to happen. They won't allow this to be seen. For the last 10 years, I've been trying to get this to be seen by everybody, Fermilab and so forth. But, they have me blocked so they can't show it. I see those places as the problems that we have to overcome. That's acceleration of light. Of that there is no doubt. And this is the separation. We want to be that part right there. It seems like, when you get down into the scientific realm, you have to be understanding what you're looking at. And I think the Egyptians might have been scientific. You see what I just showed you? This is light coming forward, and it just barely creeps forward as, you know what, I should show you. And then I'll show you the Egyptians had basically the same thing. You see that's light as it starts to accelerate. And then this is light in full acceleration mode through the Venturi. And then on the other side of the Venturi, coming this way, the white precedes the black, because the black is the mass and it's pushing the energy. And we are made of the same things this is. And the water above is the same as the water below. You see this? See OHs? H2Os are water. We have water in our atmosphere, H2Os. The water above from the water below. That's the firmament. And that's where we have the scrub of our atmosphere out here against the atmosphere in space as we spin through space. And we do spin, and it is a globe and all that stuff. I know people want to say, oh, I'm going to take the Bible literally. Well, you can take it literally. That's the firmament. There's no problem with that. The water's above and the water's below. No problem with that. All the other things I've shown you, all the gigantic things and the creatures, and it said in the Bible, it says there was giants in the earth in those days, and then after that, there was more giants. We want to see the giants that's in the earth? How about Yellowstone? There's Yellowstone right there. That's in the earth. There's the lungs. There's a couple of little organs there, maybe a heart. Comes right up through the tube to the throat. And this surrounding there, this is cavities in the sides of your head and so forth. And that right there is where it issues all of the heat from being decomposing underground. This one won't erupt, I don't think. And the reason is all the heat is being allowed to rise up through here and bubble off and so forth. Mount Spur is a different issue. And it's ready to go off, and I think it's going to go off, and I think it's going to be very, very explosive, because Mount Spur, as I've just shown all of that stuff, You can go back and look at those videos. But all the volcanoes on Earth right now are starting to become rumbling. And because the Earth has taken on too much heat. And that's because of this layer right here. Right here. The further that pushes out, which is from burning, the more we burn, we create more push out. It doesn't just escape and go into space, it's scrubbing space. That's a scrub zone. You know how hot it is out there? It's almost 3,000 degrees out here. Well, how could it be so much? Well, because it's scrubbing this. There's nothing but white. And then it gets real cold and it gets hot again where we are. That's the way the Earth works. Here it is right here. Here's the layers. That's where the space station is. Outside, that's the firmament right there. 1,500 degrees Celsius. It's 2,700 degrees, something like that. And then immediately, because it's a dipole, it gets extremely cold down here, over 100 degrees below zero. And then it gets hot down on the Earth, the face of the Earth, and then the Earth is supposed to suck it up. And it has sucked it up, and it can't suck up anymore. And now all of the volcanoes are literally decomposing. They're bodily parts under there. The Earth was fairly chilly down. You get down under the surface of the Earth, and it gets pretty cold. But now it's absorbed so much that everything is bubbling underneath there because it's just decomposing. Now look at this. I showed you this, the light, and then the light accelerating and doing this. Look at this. I thought this was pretty interesting. Like this is just light coming forward, and then this is after a Venturi. I don't know. Something crazy. What are they looking at? What are they trying to show? All right, look at this. All those fields going forward, and this one just sort of lazy. And here it is right here. Here's the lazy one. And here's the one that's not quite so lazy. You know, the deeper I get. I mean, it never ends. And all I can say is we just have to keep on digging and digging, and then I'm looking at where is the kingdom of heaven? Where is it? Where does it reside? And what's it like there? And then I started looking at it, talking about all kinds of gold and jewels and all this stuff. Is that what Jesus would want? Is that something that we should strive for? Is gold and jewels and things? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Who made that decision that that's what heaven was like? You know, I'm going back and looking at the people that are making all of these things that are about religion, and the Pope and the Vatican and all that stuff. I'm sure they have access to all these things, because obviously we have access to them. Do they read them? Do they think that they're realistic, or what is the opinion behind the Vatican walls? And what do they think about serpents and dragons and all that stuff, and all these signs and calendar dates and things? Yikes. Once you realize that there's almost nothing out of bounds, you got to try to put the pieces together the best you can. All right, so that's my ramble for today. But I don't think there's any female angels. I don't know. This really gets crazy. It absolutely gets crazy. I don't know what to tell you anymore. All right, the only thing I can tell you is that reality is just being denied. Whatever this is, I don't know. This was sent to me by somebody that took this with a cell phone, and some other ones too, but this one here really blew my mind. And cell phones with the CMOS are designed to pick up these kind of energy fluctuations. That's just what they do, and that's what we did all our other research with, all the light research. What these things are, how could this be on top of the moon giving off these energy signatures? What's going on there? What's going on up here? What's this little triangle? Looks like a pyramid, and this looks like Atlantis. I don't know. I'm just showing you what's here. Now, I know that there's no taste for reality in science anymore. I showed this. I've shown all the biology that's on Mars. And Mars is saturated with biology. They just came back with heart sarcomeres from Bennu. They won't admit that it's heart sarcomeres. It's got all the biology. It's got the DNA signatures, the amino acids. It's got all the chemistry of a heart, and it actually has the muscle sarcomeres, the blocks, and the phosphate membranes, and they just won't admit to it. Billions of dollars spent to do that, and this here, this is just a guy off the street doing this, and so am I. I don't have any big funding that are helping me do anything. I have no help to speak of at all, other than the people that have sent me things. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's where I get all my information. Those are the kind of people that have the most credible stuff. They're not interested in just making a name for themselves. They want truth. They want reality. And they're not part of that world. And you cannot be part of that world and be honest anymore. You have to repeat what you're told to say. And this is my content. That's why I get so upset about this stuff. We want truth and reality. All I ever hear is truth, 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 but nobody stands up for it. I don't see anybody standing up for it. Maybe it will now. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And hopefully somebody will get a hold of me and we can get this out in the open. I have a lot of information. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I have stored a lot of information about this. And it's all up on my videos. It's not like it's hidden. It's just pushed back at so bad by academia because it upends virtually everything they say. And that's exactly what AI says. If what I'm saying is true, everything changes. All right, I love you all. Start to speak up. There is no way to deny the things that I am showing. There is no way. No way whatsoever. These things are real. And I've been showing them a lot. And the pushback is harder and harder every day. But it cannot be denied. So at some point, we'll get reality and truth from the people that we paid to teach us. And all this stuff is written about in these ancient texts as well, about false teachers. And they'll say, don't think about God, don't think about Christ, don't think about any of that stuff. It's all nonsense. Just say what we tell you to say. We'll give you a piece of paper. You go get a good job. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that is not going to work out. It has not worked out well recently, and it will not work out well now ever again. Because people know that that piece of paper is basically worthless. Unless you have a trade and have a physical way of doing something that creates something, programs something, advances something seriously, not just walking around in circles for funding. That funding's got to get cut way back. You don't need it. What we did was almost for nothing. And all of this stuff is just me digging into the stuff that I found. Giants like this here, a 2-inch wide hair follicle. That's what a muscle attaches. Sebaceous gland, the root. I've shown this hundreds and hundreds of times. Here's the hair shaft, and it's a flat-sided hair, which means it's a curly-haired person. 2 inches wide. My DNA tested CAT scan stuff is all huge, gigantic. Well, not all of it, some of it's our size. Even Caesar here, my goose, Caesar Augustus, it's just feathers. This stuff preserved just like it was perfect. And I know the reason why now. I've got this all figured out about the nucleophilic substitution, working with half-lives and enzymes, transition metals, heavy silicates, boiling hot water flood. All of this stuff has to be taken into account, and it's just, don't talk to us about this. This is the problem with academia. They're the problem. They are certainly not the solution. Now, hopefully this will be understood and be looked at by our top government officials now that are trying to weed out this kind of nonsense. This is what we need, somebody to do that, and I haven't seen that being stepped up for. I'm seeing a lot of people being fired here and there, but so far nobody's talking to me. So I'd like to be part of this whole discussion about what's credible and what isn't credible. All I'm going to do is give my opinion. I'm not going to say go fire this guy, fire that guy. You can handle that with all your lawyers. But I have a lot of input on this because I have been pushed back by academia for 15 years. And they know that what I'm saying was real. And I think I have plenty of evidence to support everything that I've said. And if anybody wants to say I don't, that's what I would like to have happen. All right, so I want reality. Let's get back to it. All right, I thank you for listening. I hope we can get to that. That's all. All right, I love you all. We'll see what happens in the future. Thank you. Bye.